So I wanted to show you this year's Christmas photo as an example of formal balance. You can see that both my wife and I are both holding a kid, and because there's equal visual weight on both halves of the frame, it's formal. An easier way of thinking of formal balance is to just look at one subject in the center of the frame. And this is a lot like our portrait challenge, where we have our subject directly in the middle of the frame. But what if we apply that tic-tac-toe grid? The grid pattern that we should have applied the first week, but we're going to go through a tutorial here at the end of this lecture. You can see that if I take my subject and I put him in the tic-tac-toe grid, he's still in the center. But if I move my subject out towards the left and I apply that same tic-tac-toe grid, you can see that the top two intersecting lines on the left-hand side, they sort of align with my subject's face or eye. And this is a really cool technique when you're trying to sort of balance subject and background. So you can see how important it is to have this grid pattern up on our display screen or inside of our viewfinder. I want to take a minute here to show you a tutorial on how to apply the grid pattern to a Canon camera. If you already had the grid pattern applied to your device, you can skip to the next video. I'll see you then. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this grid pattern up on both the icon and the Canon. To start off, I'm just going to use my Canon. The first thing we want to do is push on the menu button. Once we have the menu up, we're going to toggle over to that first red icon. And once we are there, let's go ahead and toggle down to grid display. You're going to see there's two options for grid display. There's a 16 grid pattern and a 9 box grid pattern. We want to use the tic-tac-toe 9 grid pattern. This is going to give us our rule of thirds, and just go ahead and push set. So what you're going to notice after you've applied this grid pattern is that you're not going to be able to see it if you're looking through the viewfinder. You actually can only see it if you use live view. So I'm going to show you a couple different images of how to bring up the live view. If you can look on the left-hand side here of my screen, this is how to bring up live view if you're using a Canon. It's a couple different places, but usually it has like a little red button. Sometimes it says live view on it, or LV. If you're using an Icon camera, the live view button is actually, it's in the middle of the camera, right on the right-hand side of the LCD screen. Just push that, and either way you will see your tic-tac-toe grid, but you do need to have live view up in order for it to work.